in his hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania. He praised a particular working group.
The unions built the middle class. Period. I mean it. There would be no middle class without labor. That's the God truth. That's why Kamala is so proud of the greatest job creation record of any single presidential term in American history.
The latest Real Clear Politics average of polls in Pennsylvania has Trump leading Harris by less than a point, a statistical tie. Former President Trump making 2 campaign stops today in North Carolina and Gastonia, telling voters what he'll do if elected again.
I have come today with a message of hope for all Americans. With your vote on Tuesday, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of massive numbers of criminals that have come into our country.
The former president also campaigning in Virginia. He'll return to North Carolina for a rally in Greensboro tonight. And a man believed to have fatally shot 2 people in a rural part of northern Austria this week was found dead today. Police say the body of Roland Dexler was discovered in Upper Austria province. America is listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Runny nose, nasal congestion, and red and watery eyes. I'm Ryan Hedrick. Here's what's trending this hour. Sounds like the symptoms of the flu, and that may be, but the Mayo Clinic says those symptoms can also mean that you have whooping cough. School leaders at Monrovia High School this week says there was a positive case. The school says they're deep cleaning affected areas to try and mitigate the spread. A teenager is facing several criminal charges in Delaware County. Here's Jake McDaniel.
They detained a 14-year-old, and he was charged with robbery, reckless homicide, aggravated rape, and aggravated battery. Police say the teenager ran multiple red lights, crashed the car, and then ran off. Officers then investigated the home of a woman who let the teenager and his family stay at. They found the woman with a punctured lung, many broken ribs, and scratches. Jake McDaniel, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Things are different when you're the starting quarterback in the NFL. That's what Indianapolis Colts quarterback Joe Flacco says about his chance to lead the team starting Sunday night against the Minnesota Vikings.
Even though you try to keep everything the same when you could be coming off the bench, just mindset-wise, there's something that changes just that little bit in terms of playing consistently.
Indy's head coach Shane Steichen switched Anthony Richardson to Joe Flacco earlier this week. Sunday's game starts at 8:20. The clocks fall back in time Sunday with the end of daylight saving time. On the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com. Now, here's your forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Tomorrow, clouds will be increasing throughout the day as a warm front crosses the state. Spot shower can't be ruled out later on, but most will remain dry, high temperatures in the lower 70s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Pat Sullivan here, and the holidays are right around the corner, which means all the food prep in your home and then scraps and leftovers thrown right down the garbage disposal. Don't let a clogged kitchen sink ruin your holiday spirit. Consider upgrading your garbage disposal before it's too late. Call my friends at Hope Plumbing today for a premium garbage disposal and get $100 off. Leave the dirty work to Hope Plumbing. Visit hopeplumbing.com for all their holiday specials today.
Can you hear me?
So can your customers.
Get your message heard. Text business to 71007 now. Get results with Radio 1.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIPC.
Welcome back to the show, Indianapolis. This is Saturday Night on the Circle, and I'm your bespectacled curmudgeon, Ethan Hatcher. Happy to return to the airwaves. I apologize profusely for missing the show last week. It turns out that it was good that I took it off because it was an 11.5-hour day at work for me. I was busy doing landlord stuff on the east side of Indianapolis. I'm currently involved in a 3-bedroom total home renovation. We've got the thing gutted, replacing floor joists, shoring up the walls. We had to do framework, installed a couple staircases with the framing crew, had a roofing crew out, and they replaced the roof. So we're moving along, chugging along, but obviously I was not able to do the show because I was at the property still until like 7 o'clock in the evening. I would not have been able to do it, but I'm happy that everything worked out. And how did it go for you, Producer Jack?
Yeah, it went well. Everything ran well and went smoothly.
Excellent. Well, we are off to a good start. This week, there were many developments to get into in the Delphi trial. I had hoped that Donnie Burgess and Guy Relford would be able to join me for a live segment delving into all of that. Of course, Donnie was too busy because he went out to Delphi for live reporting today, and he had family engagements in the evening. And of course, Guy Relford, it's his birthday. So, unfortunately, we're just going to have to recap some of their interactions on the Hammer and Nigel show, who have been covering the trial every day. They've been doing a segment at the 5 to 5:30 p.m. hour, and they've really been doing great stuff, especially Delphi Donnie with his coverage, bringing the details to the forefront. And there were a lot of important developments in the case, most notably when it came to DNA evidence, because there is none. There's no DNA evidence of a male suspect at the scene.
Yeah, it's starting to sound a bit like a broken record at this point. We had Stacy Bozanovsky, a forensic scientist with the Indiana State Police lab, and she did a lot of the testing of the swabs and fibers and things after the bodies of Abby and Libby, were found back in 2017. And she got into a lot of the detail about DNA profiles and trying to pull any scraps of DNA that she could. And of course, the big headline of today was the prosecution asked her, is any of that DNA Richard Allen's? And she said no. And she said that at one point that she didn't even develop a male profile for DNA because some of it was so flimsy, may not be the right word, but she made a difference between like touch DNA and DNA from blood, and how there was a lot of that touch DNA that's very hard to even make anything out of. And she answered the big question of, okay, whose female hairs were wrapped around Abigail's fingers? And she said they came back as Kelsey German's, the older sister of Liberty. And so now we know that one as well.
To say the prosecution's case is falling apart at the seams would be an understatement when all of this rests on reasonable doubt. There is so much to go on in this case. And of course, there was the ruling from Judge Fran Gohl early on that said any alternate suspects and mention of Odinism or cult ritualistic killings would not be admissible in the trial. However, there were, again, interesting developments in the case regarding the photographs. The girls' bodies apparently had been posed. There were twigs that were fashioned in the shape of a triangle and the letter F, both of which have connections to Odinistic symbols, and it was believed that the defense that was their in to bring Odinism into the trial once again, and Judge Fran Gohl slapped it down once more, despite the fact that the jurors themselves could see the bodies were posed, and experts testified to that effect.
We know Abigail was there. We know Liberty was there. We do not know who else so far.
And this latest blood expert thinks that one of the girls' body has been moved, possibly propped up at some point, correct?
Yes, and the defense briefly touched on it in their opening statements a Friday ago, or whatever day we're on now at this point, that they are going to try and prove that the murders took place somewhere else, and then the girls were brought back to where they were eventually found.
So let's go to the hotline and bring in Guy Relford. Guy, now, again, we got to keep in mind, the defense team, when they were saying this was a ritualistic killing, Odinism or something like that, they were told that could not be part of this trial. But it just seems like the more and more as this thing plays out, maybe, just maybe, we should have allowed some of that information in the courtroom.
So a lot of the prosecution's evidence, quote unquote, now rests on these confessions that Richard Allen made while in custody, because they have nothing really that physically links him to the scene of the crime. They have no DNA evidence. They have no hair. They have no fingerprints. They have no articles of clothing. They have, only allegedly the bullet, which they tied to his gun because of the ejection marks that were on it. But again, a bullet was not used in the killing of these girls. There's just lots of strange stuff afoot, including the fact that apparently now the warden is testifying to the effect of some of these confessions. But while it was going on, while Richard Allen was in custody for nearly 2 years, he didn't bother to document this. He didn't bother to write it down in his notations, and also claims that that wasn't a dereliction of duty. Huh?
The last thing here from Westville Warden John is that as he continued testifying, he said he did not document any of Allen's verbal confessions. He did not document any of those. He never spoke to the Carroll County Sheriff's Office about Allen, and did not follow up on.
Why would you not document
well,
that?
he says he also did not follow up on why Allen was moved out of Westville. And for those of you who don't remember, that was because his defense attorney said, hey, he is under Hannibal Lecter-like conditions there. He is falling apart, and there are guards with Odinism patches and tattoos being assigned to watch him. He needs to be moved out of Westville, and the judge agreed and moved him out of Westville.
And what an important interrogation would that be, cross-examination would that be, of that person to say, wait a minute, this was important enough that you're going to come into court today and testify under oath it happened, and it wasn't important enough for you to make a note on it? It wasn't important enough for you to pass that on to the investigators you knew were on this case? But now you're going to come in and testify to it in court, but you never even picked up the phone or sent an email? And I'm sorry, if I'm a juror, I'm sitting there, I'm calling BS at that point.
Warden John says he did not neglect his duties.
And if we are supposed to take these confessions as the absolute truth, then certainly we should also take the refutations just as seriously, because they're based on the same evidence, which is the statement of the suspect. And earlier on, when he had his faculties about him, when Richard Allen was being interviewed voluntarily by the police, he came in for an interview. He vociferously denied any involvement. He laughed at the alleged evidence that they presented to him at the time, and said that it wasn't true because it couldn't possibly be true. And what's more interesting, offered voluntarily his DNA at the time, all the way back in those initial interviews. So if we're supposed to take his confessions later under duress after 13 months of solitary confinement and while he was doped up on psych meds, if we're supposed to take that seriously, then why wouldn't we take his denial early on just as seriously?
And he just keeps on saying, I did not do this. I did not do this. And Holman at one point threatened Allen with the death penalty. And Allen said, go ahead and kill me and make my wife rich.
Was there a point at some point earlier today where they're playing back this video, they're playing back this interview, and Richard Allen is being it feels like he's saying, you're trying to get me to confess to something that I didn't do.
Allen used the word fall guy in his first interview with Tony Liggett and Steve Mullen. He said, I do not want to be a fall guy. I respect your guys' integrity and authority, but I do not want to be the one to just hurry up and get this case solved. These are the words he's using. And that continues to be brought up with Holman. Another important note, a man did swab Allen's mouth and lips for DNA, and he did not object to it.
So he was open to the DNA testing, was very adamant it was not his weapon or casing that was found.
Yeah.
I think these are incredibly important details, especially when there is no other physical evidence linking this man to the scene of the crime. I'm not sure what's going on in Delphi, why the state is so adamant in moving forward with what seems to be a very flimsy case against Richard Allen, but alternative theories such as Odinism and ritualistic killings, I find to be very compelling. And I question what the prosecutors or what the judge could or might be hiding by trying to use Richard Allen as the fall guy. That was days Monday to Wednesday. We're going to take a quick break and then come back, resuming from the days of the trial this week, Wednesday to Friday. Stay tuned to 93 WIBC, Saturday night on The Circle.
Retired or retiring soon? How much money do you need to live comfortably? Retirement Planners of America is here for you. Would you like to have financial peace of mind? Here's how. Step 1. Find out the amount of money you'll need to retire. Step 2. Have a plan to get there. Step 3. Make sure that plan can take advantage of market gains but protect you from market losses. Discover how to do all three with a free consultation at 800-508-6108. That's 800-508-6108.
All investments involve risk, including losses. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
Martha was ready to switch to a career in IT.
There's always a need for IT specialists, especially with AI coming out and cybersecurity. It's practically recession-proof.
My Computer Career even provides job placement help.
The career specialists, they're very helpful. They care about you as a person. You're not just a number to them. I would recommend My Computer Career wholeheartedly to anyone.
Take the free career evaluation today. Become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
Shane Company knows fine jewelry. That means a lot when you're looking for a dream engagement ring, a beautiful keepsake, or the perfect gift. Come see us in store and compare our wide selection of diamonds, rubies, and a rainbow of sapphires in different shapes and sizes. Create your dream engagement ring and browse our selection of fine jewelry gifts. From diamond studs, tennis bracelets, birthstone necklaces, and more. With our everyday competitive prices, an unmatched free lifetime warranty, Shane Company knows how to work with your budget, not against it. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
If you've ever put off dealing with plumbing problems, you don't have to live that way. Maybe you tried to fix a leaky faucet yourself, or you're wishing that slow drain is going to magically start flowing again. Well, it's not. Stop putting things off and call Lance and his local team at LD Smith Plumbing. They'll give you honest advice at a fair price, and they leave your home even better than they found it. That's ldsmithplumbing.com. And tell them your second favorite plumber in the whole world, Denny Smith, sent you. ldsmithplumbing.com.
Earn, save, grow. It's time your money works harder and goes further with a Stockyards Bank and Trust CD. For a limited time, earn 5.15 annual percentage yield with our 5-month CD special. Proudly serving our communities since 1904. Visit any of our 5 Indianapolis area locations or syb.com/IndyCD today and experience the Stockyards Bank difference. 10,000 minimum balance required. Limited time offer. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things, even committed some crimes, but I'm not a criminal.
I work for youth advocate programs, I was Tamani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, and get a job.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration and neighborhood violence. Youth advocate programs. Learn how at yapinc.org.
Teachers shape the future. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who'll make preventing pandemics their life's work. Sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who'll help combat climate change. And generating possibilities for a student who'll be the first in their family to graduate college. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
Stevenson Heating and Cooling is a proud veteran-owned company. 317-557-8532. Don't forget to get out and vote.
Stevenson Heating and Cooling is your independent American Standard air dealer.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
The B-side declared a war. The sky wasn't big enough for them all. The birds, they got help from below. From dirty ponds and the creatures of snow.
This is Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to Saturday Night on the Circle. I'm your host, Ethan Hatcher, joined in the studio by producer Jack, beep, 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 pushing the buttons and doing the things to make the show function. Of course, in the first segment, we were discussing Delphi trial days, Monday to Wednesday, and some of the revelations that were made, including the lack of DNA evidence at the scene, fingerprint evidence, the revelation that the bodies could have been posed, and the twigs and surrounding things that were around the girls, as well as the confessions that were made under duress by Richard Allen, as well as the fact that he had initially offered voluntarily his DNA to the police officer. So I wanted to ask you, producer Jack, as somebody who hasn't necessarily been following this, Delphi case day in and day out, like a lot of people here at WIBC have.
Yeah.
What were your impressions from the sound bites that we just played, especially that little bit of that point that he voluntarily offered his DNA evidence? Does that strike you like the behavior of a guilty man?
No, like,
right?
I mean, yeah, like, if from his point of view, I guess, like, you would want to, like, be confident in what, like, your best, like, defense would be your willingness to, like,
to provide your DNA. That could link you to the scene of the crime. And this is just an average guy like you, like me. He's a Hoosier from Indiana, and he probably doesn't have the incredible forethought and intelligence that it would take to completely remove all DNA and physical evidence from the scene of the crime if he did it. I mean, that's an incredible stretch to believe that would be possible. And again, all this hinges on reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt. So let's get back into it Wednesday to Friday and talk about revelations, including the fact that his prison psychologist, was feeding him possibly details from true crime podcasts. Because one of the things that we found out is that she's a true crime fanatic. Not only is she a true crime fanatic, she was following the events of the Delphi trial as they were unfolding. So she's reading true crime podcasts, and then she's potentially she's feeding this information back to Richard Allen and potentially contaminating any confessions that he might make.
So, Guy Relford, let's get you back in the mix here. We find out that the prison psychologist is all over these podcasts and, things like that online involving the Delphi murder. And then she takes that and uses it to Richard Allen. What do you think?
That's huge, and it's the second part that really makes the difference. She can be a true crime fan or, go out and listen to what she wants to listen to. That may cast some doubt on her credibility as a witness, but it means a lot that she's actually giving details of what she's getting from a completely extraneous source, and who knows how incredibly unreliable some of the theories and BS going on in these chat groups and these true crime groups. Then she's feeding that back to Richard Allen and then recording what he says to her as a quote-unquote confession. If I'm a juror at that point, and again, I feel bad. I've mentioned this several times. I sound like I'm all team Richard Allen here, and I'm really not. I just keep, having
your team
every time Donnie reports on a witness that there are just great big holes in what they have to say in the prosecution's case.
And by the way, you can hear Guy Relford and Donnie Burgess give you live coverage of the Delphi trial updates every Monday to Friday from 5 to 5:30 on the Hammer and Nigel show. That's where I'm getting this audio to replay. I was hoping that Donnie and Guy would be able to join me live in studio this evening, but sadly it wasn't to be. However, we can go over the important updates of the trial, including the fact that his prison psychologist was giving him details from these true crime podcasts and potentially contaminating the confession. This is why this is important, Jack, because law enforcement typically will hold back pertinent details of the case. So if a prisoner makes a confession, say like a box cutter in this instance was mentioned, and Richard Allen allegedly confessed to throwing away a box cutter that was used to murder the girls in a dumpster behind a CVS. That's important because if nobody in the media has mentioned a knife or a box cutter specifically was used, then that would be a detail that only the killer could know, right? But if the prison psychologist is giving him information that she's reading off of these podcasts, then she's potentially giving him the evidence that he would need to make a false confession and thusly contaminate the credibility of any confession gotten from him. Furthermore, while he made these confessions, I would hasten to add this was after he spent 13 months in solitary confinement, which can and does break a person. Not only was he in solitary confinement, he was being involuntarily forced psych meds that will completely screw with your brain chemistry and could make you, susceptible to any number of irrational behaviors, which he definitely was.
May 10th, 2023, a call from Richard Allen to his wife, Kathy. This was approximately a 5-minute phone call. Allen tells his wife, quote, "I think I've lost my mind." And then his wife responds, "We've all lost our minds." And then he goes on to talk about more things regarding Abby and Libby. But that statement right there, "I think I've lost my mind," that stood out to me.
Yeah, and Harshman at least said that he was asked by the defense, were the bulk of the confessions taking place during the time Allen was exhibiting bizarre behaviors? And Harshman said yes, he agreed with that notion of Allen's behavior. So when we come back to the issues with confessions, we are still dealing with, okay, what was Richard Allen's condition at the time upstairs?
And the condition was said to be absolutely horrific. Hannibal Lecter-like in its, lack of just decency, basic decency. And the prison guards who were watching over him were unkind. They had Odinist symbols on their prison uniforms. They had Odinist tattoos. That's why he was transferred out of the facility and then made an enormous improvement in his health and his mental stamina. And I would say so, especially again, after being in solitary confinement for 13 months. You're not really supposed to stay in there longer than 30 days, just a matter of your health.
So you heard Donnie, this behavioral expert, this psych expert says that, people in this condition should not be held for more than 30 days. Well, Allen was there for 13 months. And according to the information that we've received, and Donnie backed me up here, this woman testified that he was given some sort of drug, Haldol, I may be pronouncing it wrong, Haldol, this antipsychotic drug, which was delivered involuntarily during this time.
See, all this goes to what we talked a little bit about yesterday, which is the voluntariness and the competency that needs to be present when someone gives a confession. Because if you're not competent to give a confession, or a confession is not truly voluntary, then it shouldn't be held against you, and it shouldn't be a basis of a conviction. And here, in the courts have ruled that long periods of isolation, including being isolated from your counsel, being isolated from your family, being isolated from other human beings, can go directly to the issue of whether you're then competent at the end of that to give a confession. This is all directly applicable to defense theory here, which is, yes, he confessed multiple times, but he was in no mental condition to do so.
As much as the cards have been stacked against Richard Allen by the prosecution and certainly by the judge and her unwillingness to have allow the defense to bring forward any really substantial defense for him, especially alternative theories, alternative suspects, and any connection with Odinism, among many other handicaps that she has laid in the defense's direction. But in spite of all that, the jury can see through the hogwash. It seems like, according to Guy and according to Donnie, that the jurors are very engaged. They're asking insightful questions, and they're seeing through the bullcrap laid down by the state.
Well, I love the fact that we have a really smart, apparently, and engaged jury. And listen, whether they find him guilty or innocent, guilty or not guilty is how it actually works. Right. That's huge because you want to believe that they were engaged, they were paying attention, and they're smart. They're asking good questions. I don't know, but everything I keep hearing just keeps shouting reasonable doubt to me.
Donnie, your big takeaways.
Well, one more example of this jury is I can't remember if he's former or current, but Delphi Fire Chief Daryl Sterrett, he testified to working, doing the whole search that day, whatever, and a couple of key things the defense is going to try and hone in on. He says that they searched the area around the bridge and they focused southwest of the bridge, only just a little bit east. Well, that's not where the bodies were found. He testified to he saw lights everywhere well into the night. He saw no clothes in Deer Creek when they searched. This is all the defense trying to say. The girls were not killed on the 13th. They were killed the next day. And this is the fire chief testifying to not seeing certain things. And here goes the jury being engaged. They asked, okay, you didn't search southeast of the cemetery? And he said no. That's them paying attention to where the bodies were found.
And keep in mind, by the way, the coroner could not nail down a specific time of death. That all fits together.
So between that and still no eyewitness to the crime and no DNA from the suspect at the crime scene, has anybody changed their minds yet? That's the $1 million question.
Donnie, you'll be in court tomorrow?
I will be there tomorrow. I am back in Delphi.
We have lots more coverage of the Delphi trial, and you can hear it live Monday to Friday on the Hammer and Nigel show from 5 to 5:30 with Delphi, Donnie, and Guy Relford. Hopefully, they'll be able to join us as well next weekend. Stay tuned for more. The Sound Dump up next.
Everyone's talking about Galaxy Concrete Coatings and their transformation, like business owner Brian.
Yeah, Galaxy was great. We have a business where a lot of the service techs are working out in the field, and they'll come in and they'll have even some mud or something on our shoes. So if we're having a meeting, I needed a flooring that could stand up to that, but still look good as an office setting.
Well, if you own a home or a business, Galaxy Concrete Coatings got you covered.
Galaxy was great to work around our schedule. They were able to come in on a Saturday, and the job was completed over the weekend, and we were back in business, so we didn't miss a step.
Lots of styles to choose from. 4 times stronger than epoxy and a 15-year warranty.
It's very nice looking. It's very durable. Really makes the room stand out and shine.
Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com now. That's Galaxy Concrete Coatings. And remember to like us on Facebook. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. We're out of this world.
Galaxy was quick to respond. They were quick to give us a solution and quick to get it completed as well. And they're going to take care of you.
Denny Smith here for Sundown Gardens in Westfield. Starting today, it's 30% or more off all nursery items in stock. You heard me right. Container trees, shrubs, and balled and burlapped items are at least 30% off. Visit the Garden Center for even deeper discounts. Looking to decorate for Halloween and Thanksgiving? Sundown Gardens can help you there, too. Save 30% off interior fall decor inside Miss Mary's gift shop. Enjoy fall and save at Sundown Gardens, 186th Street and Spring Mill Road, sundown.gardens.com.
I want a doll, a bike, and a new puppy.
Kids don't always ask for what they need. Give the littlest Hoosiers in your life a gift that starts today and will last forever, the gift of education. An Indiana 529 plan provides education savings for tomorrow while you enjoy generous tax benefits today. There are flexible investment options and a convenient mobile app. Get started with as little as $10 at myindiana529.com. Read the disclosure booklet carefully before investing. Sponsored by Indiana 529.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Stevenson Heating and Cooling, your independent American Standard air dealer in Mooresville.
Fox News, I'm Paul Stevens. Former President Trump campaigning today in Gastonia, North Carolina.
I have come today with a message of hope for all Americans. With your vote on Tuesday, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of massive numbers of criminals that have come into our country.
Mr. Trump with another planned North Carolina rally later today after a stop in Virginia. Vice President Kamala Harris, meantime, today in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I pledge to always put country above party and self, and to be a president for all Americans.
And the vice president began her busy day with an appearance in Atlanta. America's listening to Fox News.
Are you in a friendly curb appeal competition with your neighbors? Who wouldn't want to have the home that's the envy of the neighborhood? But if you have a leaning brick porch, an uneven concrete driveway, a pool deck covered in cracks, an uneven sidewalk that you could trip over, there's no way you're going to win that competition. If you don't want to be stuck envying the house across the road, you should bring in the experts from Indiana Foundation Service to come help you out and boost your curb appeal. Indiana Foundation Service Concrete Lifting Solution is here to save the day. You'll not only get the appearance you want, but you'll also keep your family and neighbors safe from tripping hazards. And that's important because everyone in the neighborhood will want to come and take a look. Schedule a free visit with the Indiana Foundation Service team of experts by going to indianafoundation.com today. Indiana Foundation Service. There's a reason they are the trusted local experts.
Indiana Foundation Service, reliability from the ground up.
Barrington Jewels believes in the timeless value of exquisite craftsmanship. Discover stunning collections for engagements, weddings, and more. Whether you're looking for the perfect diamond or a unique pre-owned piece, the expert staff at Barrington Jewels is here to guide you. Visit today to find the jewelry that will last a lifetime. Visit Barrington Jewels today or shop online at barringtonjewels.com. And remember, you haven't seen a diamond until you've seen a Barrington diamond.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Shh. The silence you just heard? You could have used that space to reach your customers. Get your message in front of your customers. Text BUSINESS to 71007 now. Get results with Radio 1.
This is Saturday Night on The Circle on 93 WIBC.
After a busy weekend news, it's once again time to trudge through the sewers for only the slimiest moments of media, reflecting on the downward spiral of society as we all make the slide into a relativistic abyss. Fading celebrities huddle together, hand-wringing over a potential Trump victory to endorse a faltering Kamala Harris campaign. Joe Biden may have inadvertently tipped the scales in the favor of his adversary, and even liberal comedian Jon Stewart backs away from hyperbolic media overreaction. Hear it all for this week's edition of The Sound Dump.
I'll take you for a ride. I'm a garbage truck.
It's the Saturday Night Sound Dump on 93 WIBC.
I take you to the dump. I show you the sights, you know you wanna ride. I'm a garbage truck.
This is Saturday Night on The Circle. I'm your bespectacled curmudgeon, Ethan Hatcher. That's producer Jack, beep, 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 on the board, pushing the buttons to do the things to make the show function. We begin with the Marvel Avengers actors assembling for a cringeworthy endorsement of the Kamala Harris campaign. If you thought that you were free from a out-of-touch celebrity political endorsement, oh, how mistaken you were. This is almost too much. This is awful.
Hi, you guys. Hi, Avengers.
Hey,
Thanks for
Scarlett.
Jumping on the call.
Whoa. I think you mean assembling. I said assembling. Don, that's pretty good. No, that was funny.
Scarlett, it is our pleasure to come together and to get the vote out this election.
Yeah, how can we be of service?
How about we start with what our voting plans are going to be, who we're going to bring to the polls with us, that sort of thing.
I think Kamala Harris needs a catchphrase.
Ooh, yes, definitely a catchphrase.
How about this? I'm just off the top of my head. I can do this all day. Shut up. I hate it. Okay.
I mean, it's original, but...
What about something punchier like, ooh, boom. You looking for this? Iron Man 2, everybody loved it.
Okay, again, I think we're just trying to get out the vote.
Kamala forever.
That's better. Okay, how about I'm down with democracy? It's just clean, it's simple.
Okay, I like that. It's hard to argue with that.
Kamala Harris down with democracy.
What the hell is even that? Get everybody out of my yard!
Oh, it went on from there, but I didn't have the strength to continue. and nobody cares is the thing. I've never needed a comic book character or the actor who portrays them to tell me how to vote. And if you do, you probably shouldn't be. I like Ricky Gervais, who mocked this spectacle of celebrity political endorsements and threw it right back in the face of these silly asshats.
Hi guys, Ricky G here, wellness and beauty influencer. As a celebrity, I know all about stuff, like science and politics. So trust me when I tell you who you should vote for. If you don't vote the right way, that's like a hate crime. It makes me sad and angry, and I'll leave the country. And you don't want that.
Look at me. Watch me. And if you like the way I'm fighting injustice, remember to like and subscribe.
And that's the real thing with these celebrity endorsements. It's more about you paying attention to them, you know, because they're so great. They're so amazing. And they believe, you know, if anything else, they can milk you for a few extra dollars and a couple extra follows on their social media. It's a ridiculous charade, and I'm glad Ricky Gervais called it out. Also, this week, there was possibly the October surprise we were all looking for when Joe Biden called half the country almost, the supporters of Donald Trump, garbage. And that didn't play too well.
Oh, the Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American. It's totally contrary to everything we've done,
He's losing his mind. And I'm reaping all the benefits.
And you know Donald Trump has to be doing well in the polls because this put the Democrats on defense. Immediately, they began trying to clarify Joe Biden's statements, pretending that that's not what he really said. Kamala Harris backed away from the president's statements and said, well, I don't believe that Donald Trump supporters are garbage. Now, of course, they've been calling Donald Trump supporters Nazis the whole time, but we're supposed to believe she doesn't think that they're garbage. Like, that's crossing the line. Nazis, okay. Garbage, a bridge too far. I don't think so. It's just that they are losing touch with the narrative that they themselves have created. It's backfiring. And Hulk Hogan talked about exactly that phenomenon while he was at the Madison Square Garden event. He didn't see any Nazis. He didn't see any white supremacists. He didn't see any evil, evildoers in the crowd who were gathered to support Donald Trump in politics in the election.
You know something, Trump maniacs? I don't see no stinking Nazis in here. I don't see no stinking domestic terrorists in here. The only thing I see in here are a bunch of hard-working men and women that are real Americans, brother.
And to clarify, you will speak when spoken to.
No, I think I speak when I want. It's a free country, Jack.
So Americans are not... They're not shutting up. They're not cowering. They're not putting their tail between their legs and capitulating to the media bombardment, to these, repeated attacks and calling you Nazi, calling you garbage, calling you scum of the earth just because you support a presidential candidate that they disagree with. And even Jon Stewart had to back away from the hyperbolic overreaction of the media. This is all because a comedian told a joke at the Madison Square Garden event. I don't have the audio. It was Tony Hinchcliffe, something to the effect of, you've heard of the floating island of garbage in the ocean. Oh, that's Puerto Rico. Something like that. He called Puerto Rico garbage, and everybody laughed. It was a funny moment. And the media tried to act like this was some, racial slur and some attack on Puerto Ricans. And again, Jon Stewart, himself a comedian, having a back it up, roll it up, media. You got to have a sense of humor about these things, which they don't.
Now, obviously, in retrospect, having a roast comedian come to a political rally a week before Election Day and roasting a key voting demographic, probably not the best decision by the campaign politically. But to be fair, the guy's really just doing what he does. I mean, here he is at the Tom Brady roast a few months ago.
The great Jeff Ross, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff is so Jewish, he only watches football for the coin toss. Gronk, you look like the Nazi that kept burning himself on the ovens. Kevin is so small that when his ancestors picked cotton, they called it deadlifting.
Yes, of course. Terrible, boo, yes. There's something wrong with me. I find that guy very funny. So, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, bringing him to a rally and have him not do roast jokes, that'd be like bringing Beyonce to a rally and not have...
Oh. And you know what that last part was in reference to, right, Producer Jack? No? Okay, Kamala Harris had Beyonce come to a rally, and it was to boost her numbers, but the expectation was that Beyonce, the famed singer, is going to do a performance at the Kamala Harris rally. Guess what didn't happen? She didn't perform. So it was an enormous mistake, and that's what Jon Stewart was making a dig at, because you gotta have a sense of humor about these things, guys. And Democrats have gotten completely out of control with the Quaker levels of censorship and a desire to control your behavior. They're the modern day Puritans. And even the Young Turks, one of their commentators, Anna Kasparian, is starting to figure out the fundamental appeal, shall we say, of Donald Trump. Why does he keep succeeding in spite of all the odds?
Donald Trump is the middle finger manifested in human form. And I think that the individuals who support him, they might support him for other reasons as well, but I do think that one of the dominant reasons is that it's giving a middle finger to our political establishment, to our institutions. And a lot of Americans feel like those institutions and the political establishment has let them down, whether we're talking about the Democratic establishment or the Republican establishment.
She's 100%. I think calling Donald Trump the physical manifestation of middle finger, I think, is something I've said on this show before. And that fundamentally is the appeal. People have had enough of the crap, and that includes things like in our entertainment. You're a gamer. We've discussed this before. You're not into the same things that I am. I like a lot of single player RPGs, but one of the series that I've enjoyed in the past was Dragon Age. And of course, now they've had the fourth game in the series released recently, Dragon Age Veilguard, and that is not being received the same way by the community. Seems to be a significant downgrade from previous installments due to the woke political messaging that has infiltrated not just politics, but now every level of society, including entertainment. And people, that's why Donald Trump is being embraced, because people have had enough of crap like this.
She's still holding the ruby in her other hand. Maker's panties. I was so proud.
Oh,
They're still holding it. Sorry.
What are you doing?
Pulling a barv.
Oh, okay.
A barv?
Tradition in the Lords of Fortune from one of our old members, Barv. Good guy, but like most of us, his plans went sideways a lot. Bad blood among your crews, not good for morale, but there's not always time for big, drawn-out apologies. So when one of us screws up and we know we've screwed up, we do a quick 10 to put it right. Pulling a barv.
Seems pretty ableist.
Oh, there we go.
I'm glad the Lords of Fortune have Tarsh's back.
Oh, Tarsh isn't the first non-binary member of the Lords.
Really?
It was a little before your time, but Horlicks was one of ours. Huh. Bastard looked better than I did in a dress or pants. And out of them, too.
Wonderful.
Any reason you can't just apologize?
Sometimes people say, oops, sorry, and hope that fixes it. But they just want to get the whole thing over with. Trust me, I know. But pulling a barv, you sweat a little. Makes you think about it a little more. Shows the other person you mean it.
What if they mean it when they say they're sorry, though?
And that's the other reason. Some people mess up and get all dramatic. They make it about them. Oh, I didn't mean it right. I never do that on purpose. They feel so bad about it that it's on everyone else to smooth it over and make them feel better.
Oh, okay. Yes, some people might do that.
Delightful, Producer Jack, delightful. Just what I wanted in my medieval single-player RPG fantasy game, a nearly 2-minute lecture on gender politics, non-binary issues, and the intricacies of properly apologizing to others.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on during that.
Nobody does. And the game's quickly tanking. This crap, people have had enough. And that's why. That is the secret sauce. to why people are embracing Donald Trump. Stay tuned to 93 WIBC Saturday night on The Circle. More on the way.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and I asked my wife this morning why women don't want to get their carpets cleaned. She said they absolutely do want to get their carpets cleaned, but they just don't want the hassle. You know, I get it. Nobody wants to have to move furniture, worry about people that they don't know coming into the house, worrying about the chemicals they're using, and then waiting around for things to dry. I get it. But that's not Zero-Res. And with their Gotta Love It guarantee, they're going to make sure it's a great experience that you'll never, ever regret. There is nobody better at cleaning than Zero-Res. Right now, get 3 rooms Zero-Resified starting at just $129 and $75 off air duct cleaning too. That's a $40 savings on the carpet cleaning. The Zero-Res service is easy to line up, and you can go online at ZeroResIndy.com to do the scheduling at your convenience. Just call them and mention WIBC. It's Zero-Res. Call 317-388-5141 or book things online at ZeroResIndy.com. That's ZeroResIndy.com.
Students who can read by the end of 3rd grade are 35% more likely to graduate. I'm Dr. Katie Jenner, Indiana Secretary of Education, here to tell you how reading 30 minutes per day can improve the trajectory of a child's life. Whether you are reading with your child or they are reading independently, this is one of the most important things you can do to help them succeed. So this school year, please encourage your child to continue reading. It's a small habit that makes a big difference.
Sponsored by the Indiana Department of Education and aired by this station.
At Busey Wealth Management, we're proud to partner with individuals, families, and foundations, ensuring possibilities become achievements. From preserving and enhancing your assets to securing your legacy for future generations, we're focused on your success. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth. Since 1868, member FDIC.
Hey, Pat Sullivan here with my friend Jack Hope, owner of Hope Plumbing. Jack, at the Sullivan House, we can't deal with any last-minute plumbing emergencies around the holidays. What do you suggest to get ready?
It's important to get your branch lines cleared because it could prevent a major disaster at some point over the holidays. And for the month of November, we have a $99 branch line clearing special for all your faithful listeners.
You heard them. Call Hope Plumbing for a $99 branch line clearing and get your home prepped for all the holiday fun.
When it's all over, join WIBC and Tony Katz for Understanding the Election in 3 Bourbons, presented by Premier Arms on Thursday, November 14th. Enjoy bourbon, cigars, hors d'oeuvres, expert analysis, and plenty of laughs. Tickets are limited. Get yours now at WIBC.com.
Born free as the wind blows, as free as the grass grows.
You're listening to Saturday Night on The Circle on 93 WIBC.
Live free and beauty.
Where else, producer Jack? Where else besides this show are you going to get a little Andy Williams on a Saturday night? I ask you. Nowhere. That's the answer.
I don't know her.
Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on The Circle. I'm your host, Ethan Hatcher. That's producer Jack. In this segment, I wanted to discuss a startling survey from our neighbors across the pond, as they say, in the United Kingdom, where apparently Gen Z workers are missing out on the equivalent of 54 days. That's about one day a week, productive days a year, clocking into work, but not operating at peak efficiency. And this is supposedly because of burnout, because Gen Z is depressed. They're reporting, as a matter of fact, 224% higher likelihood to be burnt out and depressed compared to their older colleagues. And I ask you, producer Jack, what in the grand scheme of things does Gen Z have to be burnt out about? You've barely gotten started with life.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
we live in the most prosperous time to be alive in human history. And I say that unequivocally. We have access to amazing medicines, antibiotics, healthcare, like, even royalty couldn't even imagine 100 or 200 years ago. Access to foodstuffs in great abundance from all over the world. Entertainment literally at our beck and call. Screens everywhere. Conveniences, electronics to make every element of our life easier. And then Gen Z is missing out on almost a day a week because of mental burnout. And I've seen it. I've seen it in some of my friends' acquaintances where literally they're staying away from work weeks at a time. And in that case, it's because a helicopter parent is enabling the bad behavior. But it's like, and I feel like that's the case many times because we have it so easy that society is cradled. We are coddled by the safety net that we have established for ourselves, but it's not ultimately benefiting our mental outlook, especially when you see young people, again, having a 225% higher likelihood to be depressed compared to their older colleagues. I think it's time to readjust. Life is simply not that bad. In fact, quite the opposite. This is, and again I say, the most prosperous time to be alive in human history. You got food, you got entertainment, you got shelter, you got heat, you got cooling. Even air conditioning was a luxury less than a century ago. Now it is common, and it's so abundant that we can even put it in our cars. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on the Circle. Coming up next, a friend of the show, Donald Rainwater, is joining us in the studio live, making the final pitch before Election Day for governor. Stay tuned for that on 93 WIBC.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
At Shane Company, our engagement rings are the perfect blend of design, function, and beauty, each one a unique work of art. We meticulously craft our bridal jewelry in our jeweler's workshop to the highest standards, expertly setting each diamond by hand, ensuring the structure is perfectly balanced, and sizing everything for the perfect fit. Shane Company offers a free unmatched lifetime warranty because your engagement ring is an heirloom that was made to last. You'll cherish your ring today, tomorrow, and forever. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. If you or anyone in your family has been injured in a car accident, call us now, as the time to file a claim may be limited. Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before, protecting America, fighting for you. Morgan & Morgan. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Emmer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
We put our lives on the line for our country. We braved the unknown. We did what we were told, and we lit up. Our cigarette packs were as valuable as the packs on our back, maybe more. At one point, cigarettes were part of our daily ration. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. And boy, we were smoking 'em. Bumming a smoke was the norm. It was an escape from the reality of dirt, sweat, and forgetting how many days you were so far from home. Never had to worry so long as you had a light, and the smoking lamp was lit. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now. Surviving lung cancer starts with a scan. Learn more at screenyourlungs.org. And thank you for your service. This PSA was made possible by industry funding and guidance from lung cancer patient groups.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
It's hard to keep track of all the health information that comes your way.
but you still want to make the right decisions. Here's an easy one. Get tested for hepatitis C. It's a leading cause of liver cancer and often has no symptoms. People born from 1945 to 1965 are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. The good news is that now it can be cured. Talk with your doctor about getting a blood test for hepatitis C. Know for sure. A message from the CDC.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Busy Saturday. I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News. Former President Trump traveling to Salem, Virginia, rallying there ahead of the election. The former president telling voters
America will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before. And this election is a choice between whether you will have 4 more years of incompetence and failure, or whether we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country.
Now, this coming the same day that Vice President Kamala Harris is also campaigning around the Southeast, stopping in Atlanta and Charlotte, North Carolina. In Charlotte, she promised she'll put people before politics.
I pledge to always put country above party and self, and to be a president for all Americans.
Meantime, President Joe Biden returned to his hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania, where he appeared at a Harris-Walz campaign event criticizing former President Donald Trump and his stances on the Affordable Care Act, with a message to those who say they want to repeal it.
Trump wants to take it away. This is not personal. This is the facts. Facts. He wants to take away the Affordable Health Care Act. That would have a devastating impact on the kids you grew up with. The people you grew up with. Don't forget where you came from.
Now, former President Trump has called, or did call rather, for terminating the Affordable Care Act during his first presidential run back in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. He has not called for a complete termination in 2024, but he has said he wants to propose a quote-unquote alternative. America's listening to Fox News.
Tuesday, it's Election Day in America, and Fox News Radio has wall-to-wall coverage. Starting with a 1-hour preview show with Brett Baer, Martha McCallum, and Dana Perino. Then, Jared Halpern and Jessica Rosenthal lead Democracy 24 state-by-state coverage of the all-important presidential election and balance of power in Congress, along with Fox News reporters throughout the country. It's coverage you can't hear anywhere else. Listen starting at 6 p.m. Eastern at foxnewsradio.com and on the Fox News app.
It is time to take the quiz.
5 days a week, it's 5 questions in less than 5 minutes. We ask people on the streets of New York City to play along. Let's see how you do.
Including the pre-Super Bowl era, what NFL franchise has won the most NFL championships?
I'm going to say the Cowboys.
I guess I would say the Packers.
How'd you do? Exactly. These get tougher, so hang on.
Make sure you take the quiz every weekday at thequiz.fox. Thank you for taking the quiz.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
What he can't do. I'm Ryan Hedrick. Here's what's trending this hour. The state of Indiana calls Dr. Scott Mims a clear and present danger. The Indiana Medical Licensing Board has suspended his license. Investigators say Mims was not prescribing drugs like a doctor should, and that he failed to use care and diligence when doing so. They say he performed surgeries with anesthesia without proper accreditation. He was charged with 114 counts of violating laws. Only 12,000 new jobs were added to the U.S. economy last month, says the latest jobs report from labor statistics. UIndy economist Dr. Matt Will says the biggest issue with this report is the revisions to the last 2 job reports.
Down 112,000. So remember that good report we saw last month? We're talking about, are these anomalies? Are these real? They were anomalies.
Dr. Will tells Tony Katz today big tech companies like Amazon and Google are keeping the market up. Imagine having your debit card stolen at a funeral and later used at a Build-A-Bear workshop. Sasha Nixon reports that's what police say happened recently to one person in Bloomington.
According to officers, Amy Dowden stole the debit card from a woman's purse at the funeral chapel. She then used that card to buy more than $70 worth of product at the College Mall Build-A-Bear. And Bloomington police say this is not the first time that Dowden has committed this type of crime. In fact, multiple similar reports involving the woman have been made just this year.
On the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com. Now, here's your forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Tomorrow, clouds will be increasing throughout the day as a warm front crosses the state. Spot shower can't be ruled out later on, but most will remain dry, high temperatures in the lower 70s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Eligible Hoosiers, listen up. You can trust that our elections are safe and secure. Be confident every step has been taken to protect your vote in Indiana. Your voice counts and your vote counts. Every vote is safe here in the Hoosier State. Be a part of Indiana's success as we continue to lead the way. This message is brought to you by your Indiana Secretary of State.
Hey, don't take your eyes off the road. Just listen. What you hear right now, your customers hear it too. Get your message heard. Text BUSINESS to 71007 now. Get results with Radio 1.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service and need to find a local well-trained expert you can trust like Kirby Heating and Air Conditioning? Find that American Standard Air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at GotYour6.org.
Into a place where thoughts can bloom. Into a room where it's 9 in the afternoon. And we know that it could be.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
'Cause it's 9 in the afternoon.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your bespectacled curmudgeon, Ethan Hatcher. You can find my podcasts uploaded to WIBC.com, as well as my personal podcasting page, Saturday Night on the Circle.fireside.fm. And if you're curious about following my antics on the Twitter machine, you can follow me at Ethan Hatcher, ETHANHATCHER. This hour, I've got our esteemed friend Donald Rainwater, Libertarian candidate for governor, live in studio with me to make the final pitch, the final push before Election Day. 3 days to go, Donald, and I'm very excited. I keep crossing my fingers. I hesitate to make an official prediction, but I'm rubbing that crystal ball, and I see a Rainwater victory in the clouds, in the mist, possibly manifesting itself. I'm hoping. I think it's there.
Good evening, Ethan. Thank you for having me. And, I think there are a lot of folks out there that share your enthusiasm.
Well, and magic can happen with just it just has to be a plurality. It doesn't have to be over 50%. I think we can cross the finish line with 35%, Braun at 34 and McCormick at 31. I'm no mathematician, but I believe that would be a Rainwater victory.
I believe that based on my public and private school education in the state of Indiana, that he who has the most votes wins.
Indeed. So tell us about your final push. Do you have any more events coming up in the last Sunday and Monday?
No, I've got a few interviews that we're doing, most of them by Zoom. As I'm sure most everybody has heard me say now, I am an everyday average Hoosier.
Yeah.
Which means I've used up most of my PTO, and I have to work Monday. My job requires me to show up and do the work for which I'm paid, which not everybody who runs for office has to do that, but I do. So Monday's a work day for me, and I'm going to try to squeeze in an interview or two Monday afternoon, Monday evening. And then Tuesday I've taken PTO so I can vote first thing in the morning, and then I'm going to drive around and show up at polling locations and introduce myself to folks.
Fantastic.
And the folks that say, hey, I'm voting for you, I'll thank them, and I'll encourage others to do the same.
Now, we had a little bump in the road a couple weeks ago when the Republicans out of nowhere decided to start throwing bombs and punching down and running these destructive ads. But I think that seems to have backfired on them just a little bit based on the reaction that I'm seeing from social media and conversations that I've had with other supporters of yours and also Republican voters.
My understanding is that I've gotten a lot of new name recognition off of the publicity.
Right. Any press is good press, as it turns out.
Well, and the wonderful thing is no matter what twisting and stretching of 20 to 30-year-old facts somebody does, Hoosiers are smart enough. They go and do a little research themselves, and they look and they go, oh, well, he struggled with some issues that are very similar to things I struggled with in my past or am struggling with now. And I think folks look at it and go, he seems to have rebuilt his life and taken care of his issues and
there we go.
Is doing the right things now. At least I'm out here fighting for the rights of Hoosiers and not trying to get my hands on $51 billion of state revenue in order to shovel it off to my buddies.
And I think Hoosiers are more than willing to forgive and forget. And if the worst that Republicans have is a little financial difficulties more than, over a decade and a half ago that have long since ended, then that's not a very big scandal. And something tells me that if Republicans were doing as well as they would like to advertise, then they wouldn't be spending so much money on this very station to advertise to the base, to make a final pitch who should be voting for them anyway.
Absolutely.
But they don't think that vote is as secure as it should be, or else they wouldn't be spending the money. And again, they're spending it on you. They're still giving you name recognition.
That's right.
I hear that ad played on the station, and it's not having the effect that they would hope it did.
Well, I think that we'll find out Tuesday that Hoosiers are much more savvy than what maybe some political parties give them credit for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think the establishment, especially Republicans, especially in the state of Indiana, have for too long taken for granted the automatic support of their voting base. And in that absence of any real competition, they have gotten away with, it's a fox in the henhouse situation where they have raised taxes. They have increased spending enormously. We had that $1 billion shortfall with Medicaid spending.
That is now tied to $724 million worth of overbilling and overpayment.
And then your opponent, the Republican, of course, helped vote for the largest state tax increase in Indiana history, the automatically renewing gas tax that has pilfered millions of dollars cumulatively across the state, robbing Hoosiers from value. And only recently, did he, Johnny come lately to the conversation of property taxes, whereas you've been ringing that bell solidly for 5 years.
Absolutely. And I do want to point out to folks, because one of the things I've seen on social media is that some folks have been misinformed that Senator Braun's property tax plan is that to raise property taxes to 2 or 3%. And I just want to make sure that folks know that what he's saying is he's only going to let your property taxes increase every year by 2 or 3%. Where I've said property taxes should never increase. And I signed the taxpayer protection pledge saying that I would oppose and veto any attempt to raise taxes. He supposedly signed that as well, but as you can see by his plan, he's more than happy to continue to raise your taxes, even though he pledged not to.
The Braun tax plan is nothing more than a gesture. It was crafted last minute, only after he was strong-armed into the conversation and had to make further refinements to the plan. And the scuttlebutt and conversations that I've been hearing is the General Assembly, the legislature, the people who, have to craft the legislation for him to pass, are unwilling to do so.
Right.
And since he comes from the Republican establishment, he's already shown an incredible willingness to continue to raise taxes. I am not instilled with a high degree of faith that he will resolve the situation against pressure from within his own party after obtaining office. This is a gesture just to get your vote, and he's feeling a little under pressure for a number of reasons, or else, again, they wouldn't be running these ads.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm sure that the folks down in Du Bois and Martin County would be more than happy to talk to folks about the Mid-States Corridor project and the 1,800 plus acres of family farmland that they're trying to take in order to put that through so that a couple of business owners down in that area can have an interstate when they've already provided the funding to improve the existing roads and make it better down there without having to take 1,800 acres of farmland.
Well, and you've got the LEAP district where the theft of water from a community in service of corporate interests. There's a lot of backhanded, backdoor politicking that is going on and deals with these corporate entities in the Republican supermajority state. And that's why I am energized by the potential for a Donald Rainwater governorship, because you don't have those ties.
Right.
You know, as you've emphasized,
no strings attached to me.
You're just a regular Hoosier, and you got to work and go into work like the rest of us.
Yes, and I don't, I'm not looking to funnel taxpayer dollars to this project or that project, or what I want to do is I want to return as much as the taxpayers' dollars back to the taxpayers as I possibly can. Oh. You earned that money. You deserve to spend it in whatever way you see fit, not the way the Republican Party of Indiana sees fit.
Oh, you don't expect taxpayers to cover your cigarette expenses? Isn't that what that said?
No.
That's ridiculous.
No, I don't. And the reality is I don't expect them to pay loans off for developers either.
There we go. We're getting ready to run out of time here, Donald. So let's make one final pitch. What do you want to tell the voters of Indiana before they head out on Election Day Tuesday?
Well, once again, folks, I think it's very obvious that there may be three people running for governor, but there's really only two choices. There's big government, big taxes, big bureaucracy. And President Reagan said, if you're for those things, you are not for the little guy. I'm just an average, everyday Hoosier. I am a little guy. And I believe in smaller government, lower taxes, and less bureaucracy. And if you want a government that works for you and does not exploit you for financial gain, then please, I need your vote November 5th.
Hey, I'll be there and I'll be voting for you.
I will be voting for me too.
Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on the Circle. And thank you, Donald, for coming in and battling against the Swifties downtown to make it live in the studio.
Well, and you know what? We're glad to have them here. I wish more Hoosier Swifties had been able to get tickets for these three shows. It's a shame, but
we don't make as much as the out-of-towners.
That's right.
Stay tuned to 93 WIBC, Saturday Night on the Circle.
This is it.
This is it.
This is it.
Election night 2024.
The most important election.
Real change.
Incredibly pivotal moment.
Insight, analysis, opinion.
The results.
Complete election day coverage.
Never been anything like
the American people.
Drill, baby, drill.
Tuesday, November 5th. Election night and beyond.
So just the beginning.
Choose 93 WIBC, your election information station.
Joyner Homes has been building truly custom homes in Central Indiana for 18 years. They can build anywhere that you can bring a builder or on your own private lot. They make it easy to build your dream home with an in-house team of architecture and design specialists. First step, visit joynerhomes.com. Check out floor plans, pricing, locations. You can even start from scratch. The design studio is where you pick out all the fun stuff, all the coolest stuff in one spot. And they're with you every step to ensure you stay on budget. That's joynerhomes.com.
Earn, save,
grow. It's time your money works harder and goes further with a Stockyards Bank and Trust CD. For a limited time, earn 5.15 annual percentage yield with our 5-month CD special. Proudly serving our communities since 1904. Visit any of our 5 Indianapolis area locations or syb.com/IndyCD today and experience the Stockyards Bank difference. 10,000 minimum balance required. Limited time offer. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Eligible Hoosiers, listen up. Election Day is November 5th. This is a reminder from the Indiana Secretary of State. Make a plan to get to the polls and vote. Indiana's elections are safe, secure, and transparent. Go to indianavoters.com to find polling locations, volunteer to work at the polls, and more information for Election Day. Make your vote count this Election Day, November 5th. This message is brought to you by your Indiana Secretary of State.
Meals from those years are hard to forget. It was all white bread and whole milk, hamburger casseroles and quiche Lorraines, all with a side of cigarettes. We ate salads as desserts. We knew a party was classy if it had a cheese log, and we never missed an after-dinner smoke. It didn't matter if we were in our dining rooms, a burger joint, or the ritziest of restaurants. There'd be an ashtray on every table, and that very particular flavor in every meal. We smoked for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's amazing that our food could taste like anything else. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now. Surviving lung cancer starts with a scan. Learn more at screenyourlungs.org. This PSA was made possible by industry funding and guidance from lung cancer patient groups.
This time next week, I'll be sick in bed with West Nile virus, thanks to a mosquito bite right in front of my house.
In 8 minutes, my daughter will be in an ambulance, having an asthma attack, triggered by cockroaches.
I'm going to be bitten by a tick today. I won't even know it until Lyme disease turns my life upside down.
Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association and the CDC.
My name is Jamie Bowles, and I was diagnosed with non-small cell lung cancer in December of 2018. Nobody would even know looking at me that I have stage 4 lung cancer, and I'm grateful for biomarker testing for that. When I was sitting down with my oncologist, there was already state-of-the-art medication available that I was going to be put on right then and there. Ask your doctor how comprehensive biomarker testing before treatment may help you decide on the best treatment. Visit noonemissed.org to learn more.
A public service message from Longevity Foundation.
Hi, this is Richard Stevenson. Need heating service in Johnson, Morgan, or Hendricks County? Give us a call, 317-557-8532.
Stevenson Heating and Cooling is your independent American Standard air dealer.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
I climb way up to the top of the stairs, and all my cares just drift right into space.
This is Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Where you just have to wish to make it so.
Welcome back to Saturday Night on the Circle. I'm your Bohemian codger, Ethan Hatcher, and you can find my podcasts uploaded to WIBC.com and SaturdayNightOnTheCircle.fireside.fm, and always find us streaming live every Saturday night on the YouTube machine. For 10 weeks of college and 9 weeks of the NFL, fortunes have been won and lost on the insights of the plucky upstarts on the new nationally acclaimed Degenerates Next Door podcast, recently recognized by Barrett Media in a fabulous piece celebrating their meteoric rise to stardom. You already know and love him on The Kendall and Casey Show, but now he's expanded his broadcasting horizons with Jason Hammer on the Degenerates Next Door podcast, and now Rob Kendall joins us live on the WIBC hotline. How are you this evening, sir?
Ethan, it's my understanding you've actually made $3 million off our bets so far this year.
If only I had $1 million a bet, that is indeed how much I would have won. I've come away with a much smaller sum, but overall a net profit. This has been a fascinating experiment for me because, you know, I'm no fan of the sportsgetball, but because you and Jason launched this podcast, I have started participating in the bets with you, and it's given me a sense of community with the sports people. I still don't watch, watch, but at least now I sort of have an awareness of what's going on. That's pretty neat. And you did that, Rob, you and Jason.
Well, so it's the Degenerates Next Door sports betting podcast, as you said. We have 2 podcasts out a week, college football on Tuesday, NFL on Thursday. You can get it wherever you get your podcast. And that's right. No, we had talked about that when you said, hey, I'm going to get in on this with you guys. I said it's not whether you're a sports fan or not. It gives you a sense of camaraderie, and you're basically buying super cheap entertainment. We always tell people, play responsibly, gamble responsibly. And sports betting, which was legalized, it's been 5 years ago now in the state of Indiana, more than 5 years ago now, has just been a great gift to the state. It's been great for the state's finances, and it's been great for liberty and freedom and people to spend their money responsibly as they see fit.
How did this podcast come to be? Who came up with this? Like, what was it Jason that came to you, you come to him, or did you both kind of mutually decide that this was a void in the market that needed to be filled by your enormous talents? Like, tell me the background here.
Yeah, so nobody else was doing this. Now, Hammer, of course, had the TV show over at Wish for a while, and Hammer had the sports betting show on The Fan, our sister station, 107.5 and 93.5, The Fan, and I had done both of those with him, and we said, nobody else in the city is doing this, and there's obviously this huge market for sports betting. It's a multi-million-dollar industry many, many times over in the state of Indiana, multi-billion-dollar industry across the country, and we're really into it. We're not bad at it, and we're kind of fun to listen to. Why don't we put together 2 podcasts a week talking about sports betting?
No, I mean, and what I really appreciate is that you come at it from 2 totally different perspectives. You're more on the emotional side. You're more on the intuition side. You have, feelings and, guesses about games. And then Jason, he's the stats man. He comes to you with all these wonderful prop bets, the majority of which have been cashing, I would hasten to add. He comes with, wealth of knowledge about the teams and what they score, research that I would never bother doing, and then you bring both of those intuitions together to perform what I think is a very well-balanced presentation of the sports betting world.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the charm of the show is we don't lie to you, right? Like, we're not chicks with big cans like you'll see on the internet. They're trying to get you to sign up for a sports betting website. We're not the male Kardashian-looking dudes like you'll see on cable television. We're just you guys who watch sports, and we bet on the sports. We tell you our picks, honestly, the way we actually bet on sports. So like you said, Hammer is totally into it. He puts hours and hours of research into it. I read 2 websites. I see a game that looks interesting. I read 2 websites, and then I go, all right, I'll go with that. And if you look at, for the NFL this year, I'm 24-16. That's 8 over 500. I'll put that up against any of those guys on TV, any of the chicks with the cans on the internet. I mean, everybody's got their own way. And look, when we win, we celebrate. When we lose, we blame some player on the field, and we're just regular people.
And you can use me as a barometer of that overall success because, again, I come at this from the outsider's perspective. I know nothing about these games, about these teams. I'm not, overall interested or involved other than that my friends have now started the sports betting podcast, and this is a fascinating experiment for me to join in. But I had the initial, that $200 sign-up bonus that you get when you create a FanDuel account, which this was the first time I've ever, created such a thing. So, yeah, I got that bonus. And then I put $20 in. I put another $100 in to get a match, and then I cashed out that $120. So right now, everything is profit for me. I've got bets out on the games unfolding this afternoon and Sunday. But, so we'll see, how it turns out. But right now, it's profitable. So your insights are proving to be a more profitable venture than not. I'd say that's a success story.
Well, here's what we tell people about sports betting, too. If you can gamble responsibly, and that's always the key, right? Be very responsible, never bet anything. You'd be mad if you lost. But the amount of entertainment, because an NFL game or a college game is 3 hours. If you put $5 or $10 on a game that you wouldn't have otherwise watched, and you have 3 hours of entertainment for $10, where else are you getting that at? That's why we love sports betting. There may be some NFL game like, the Raiders and the Bengals play on Sunday. nobody other than people in Cincinnati and some leftovers here in Indianapolis are going to have an interest in the Raiders and the Bengals game. But now, hey, if you got $5 or $10 on it, you're screaming your lungs out if you took the Bengals to cover the 7.5. Joe Burrow better get it together.
I think I've got $10 on the Bengals, so go Bengals. I'm looking forward to seeing the results of that game.
I love that. I love to be able to text you because I know, Ethan, you have no interest in sports whatsoever, but I now know that I can text you on Monday at 10 p.m. and give you an update on Monday Night Football, and you'll have a vested interest in reading that text message.
It's very true. It's very true. But let's pivot the conversation because, of course, sports is your love, but politics is your passion, and that's what you spend the majority of your time doing Monday to Friday on the Kendall and Casey show. A couple weeks ago, we had discussed kind of handicapping the election, and at the time, I was still hesitant, and to a degree, I am still very reticent to declare a premature Trump victory. But I do agree with you. I think the temperature of the nation, the trajectory favors a Trump victory. I hate predicting these things, but I am cautiously optimistic at this point, especially after Joe Biden called half the country garbage and had to backpedal, and Donald Trump made that press conference in the back of the garbage truck. I think that was very effective, as was his appearance at the McDonald's, to kind of retort the Kamala Harris claim that she had worked at a McDonald's at one point in her distant past that was never able to be verified. I mean, everything seems to be lining up in his favor, and I can't believe that I'm saying that. Can't believe it.
Well, here's the one problem. We talked about this on Hammer and Nigel on Thursday, is the Republicans don't seem to have in 4 years counteracted the machine and the machine's ability to count the votes, right? Like you've seen this thing in Pennsylvania now where the court has ruled, well, okay, you can basically vote on Election Day even if you've already mailed a ballot in, even if you mailed the ballot in wrong. Well, okay, you got to have the IQ of 7 to read the instructions and send the ballot in, right? But in Pennsylvania, it just doesn't matter. I mean, they're sending these ballots out. They don't know who's getting them. They don't know who's sending them back. I agree with you, Ethan. I think in terms of who's going to actually get the most votes on Election Day, I think it'll be Trump. But, man, you got these Democrat machines in places like Michigan and Wisconsin. Now, there was some interesting data about Milwaukee that the voting totals are way down in Milwaukee, which is a big concern. But until the Republicans figure out how to counteract the machine and the machine's ability to vote, because you have Democrat governors and Democrat Secretary of States in all of these blue firewall states, I think it's going to be razor thin. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't think we're going to know on election night.
I think we'll know by the next morning. I really do. Republicans have done a much better job in this cycle, in my opinion, of getting out the vote early and not taking for granted those mail-in and those early votes. That was something that Donald Trump had kind of shot himself in the foot in the 2020 cycle when he encouraged people to just show up on Election Day so those votes could be immediately counted. And then you saw the mail-in ballots. They got counted later. At this point, especially judging by the early voting turnout here in Indiana, which seems to be somewhat substantial, over 100,000 early votes so far, and most of them seem to be favoring registered Republicans. I think Republicans have gotten the message. They're turning out the vote. They are participating early. They're mailing in their ballots, and I think they will show up ultimately on Election Day as well. That's my prediction. I am, again, cautiously optimistic at this point, but I do think lessons were learned.
Hey, man, I hope you're right? And, like, if you look at Arizona and you look at Nevada and you look at Georgia and Florida, I mean, I don't know if Florida's really a swing state anymore. Those do look better. North Carolina looks better. You do wonder, though, how many of those are baked in? Are these new people, or are these the same people that would vote on Election Day? I think there's a lot of unknowns. And again, now I loved it. This is the politics world, right? We just talked about how much fun sports betting is. The change in politics where you're Mr. Optimistic on Trump, but I'm kind of like, well, hang on for just a second. So I just think it's gonna be razor close. I think it's, little things like Trump. I mean, by the way, can we agree if you were courting Arab American voters, Liz Cheney is the last person you would want on your team?
Yeah, that would seem to be a faux pas.
I mean, she's got her in, like, Michigan, and it's like, ooh, I don't know, man. I don't think, the Cheney family would be the closing message to Arab American voters who might decide to swing state. Look, you and I both agree. I think the country will get nominally better if Trump's elected. I obviously voted for Trump, but I think there's some people who have delusions of grandeur based on who wins or who loses, how much the country's going to improve. There's still no plan to stop the spending. There's still no plan for inflation. You can't trust the Republicans. So you and I are going on a wing and a prayer, brother, and hoping it ends okay.
Trump was a profligate spending Republican for sure, but hey, the alternative is Kamala Harris. So the choice seems obvious at this point.
I just do want to say, Ethan, in your evolution and your maturity and improvement as a broadcaster, I never thought I would see Ethan Hatcher not only voting for Trump, but also on WIBC saying, "Hey, everybody's got to get out for Trump."
These are the options that I've been presented with. I was very vocally opposed to Donald Trump winning the primaries, but the American voters have spoken. He has been the representative of the Republican Party. There is no other choice at this point. I have no Gary Johnson alternative. Chase Oliver is not my guy. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think you're where most Americans are, which is, hey, I'm not overly impressed. Look, there's a core of the Republican base that was very into Trump, and obviously then he wins the primary. And I think you and I are kind of in the same boat, which is like, ooh, it would have been much easier with Ron DeSantis, but we don't have that choice, so we'll pick one. And, it'll be interesting to see, like here in Indiana, I think Braun would have been in real trouble if Trump weren't at the top of the ticket. But I think with Trump at the top of the ticket, I think that's going to bring so many people out, and I think most of those people, not all of them certainly, a lot of them will vote for Rainwater. There'll be some that'll just not vote altogether, but I think that's going to save it for Braun. But I do think if he's declared the winner on election night, he better thank his lucky stars that Donald Trump was at the top of the ticket.
Yeah, I think it is very likely that Braun is going to win the governor's race. Of course, I will be a Rainwater voter. I'm crossing my fingers cautiously that Rainwater can come away with a victory at 35%, but that is a very long shot.
Did you vote? Have you voted yet?
I'm voting on Election Day.
Good for you. My wife forced me to go early, and it was just quite the experience. I think it's always shorter on Election Day.
I've only ever voted early once, and it was because I would be on vacation and out of town during the election. But otherwise, I've always voted on Election Day. That's just my personal tradition. And yes, it's very easy, especially on the east side of Indianapolis, to show up at a polling place and get your vote cast and walk out of there.
Well, I'm going to be at the Republican Party. Boy, how the world's changed, right? Rob Kendall got invited to the Republican shindig on election night, so it's going to be very awkward if Braun doesn't win. So
enjoy the invitation while it lasts. I'm sure the welcome will be short-lived.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob, and stay tuned to 93 WIBC. You're listening to Saturday Night on The Circle.
Everyone's talking about Galaxy Concrete Coating and their transformation, like your neighbor Mike.
Well, the local company that we used first was highly recommended by people in our neighborhood. We did not know until after it didn't work on our floor. It just peeled up like a cheap suit. And so my wife says, we got to do something. And so she started looking around on the internet, and she found Galaxy.
Lots of styles to choose from. 4 times stronger than epoxy and a 15-year warranty.
We got Galaxy out here. They got here at about 8 o'clock in the morning, and they finished up at 6 o'clock that night. Other than having a beautiful garage floor, you couldn't tell they were here. Just did a wonderful job on it.
Galaxy Concrete Coatings works for any area like patios, garage floors, driveways, and around pools.
Still looks fantastic, and anybody that visits our house, that's all they want to talk about. I mean, they just can't believe how nice the garage floor looks.
Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com and remember to like us on Facebook, GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com. We are out of this world.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. GI Bill, SkillBridge, and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Bill Klontz Heating and Cooling. Bill has decided to take a step back and leave things to Danny and Chris, which is a good thing for customers.
When a guy runs a business for 35 years and retires, he picks the best people to do the job. And in my opinion, these guys will take care of my customers and my employees and do everything exactly like I would, and that's why I chose them.
It's the same contact info and email, BillKlontz.com, CLONTZ. Bill Klontz Heating and Cooling is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Stevenson Heating and Cooling, your independent American Standard air dealer in Mooresville.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. A last-ditch campaign pitch for former President Donald Trump in Virginia.
I only want one thing from you. I don't want your money. We don't need your money. You keep that money. I only want a little thing called your vote. And that's what would be great. So we want your vote.
The former president will hold a rally in Greensboro, North Carolina tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I pledge to always put country above party and self, and to be a president for all Americans.
Both presidential candidates hoping to win over undecided voters this final weekend before the election, which is this Tuesday. America is listening to Fox News.
Technology Recyclers is Indiana's best choice for computer and electronics recycling. A Hoosier veteran-owned company, Technology Recyclers is R2, Rios, and MAID certified, 100% landfill-free, and always guaretees complete data destruction. And you can expect free business pickups anywhere in Indiana at tech-recyclers.com or call 1-800-237-3887. Technology Recyclers, the official sponsors of tomorrow. That's tech-recyclers.com for a stress-free experience in recycling.
Guys, we're notorious for putting things off. But when it comes to plumbing problems, you don't have to live that way. If you're tired of taking showers with low water pressure or not enough hot water, you've got to stop putting it off and call Lance and the local team at LD Smith Plumbing and ask about water heater specials. These are the guys I trust in my house and in my friends' houses and my relatives' houses, and they're the licensed plumbers you want in your house too. LDSmithPlumbing.com. That's LDSmithPlumbing.com.
We know to contact Indiana 811 at least 2 working days before every dig. But did you know spraying a white line around your digging area means utility flags will be placed only in that area? Fewer flags in the yard? Easier mowing? Everybody wins.
Except for my kid.
I don't want to mow the yard.
Contact Indiana 811 and white line before every project. It's the only way to dig. Learn more at 811.safedigindiana.com.
Sponsored by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission and aired by this station.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Time goes slowly, but it carries on. And now the best years have come and gone. You took me by surprise.
This is Saturday Night on The Circle on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I didn't have on my election 2024 bingo card was the death of a squirrel radicalizing the nation, but that is exactly what has happened. Now, producer Jack has given me a funny look like he hasn't heard about the tragic loss of Peanut the squirrel. Have you heard tale of this story?
I haven't. You're right.
Okay, well, this is breaking news for producer Jack. Okay, Peanut the squirrel is a squirrel of note and acclaim from Elmira, New York, where he has been a beloved pet for the last 7 years, as well as the mascot for a animal refuge, animal rescue center. And Peanut the squirrel was found by Mark Longo 7 years ago when he was just a little baby squirrel. His mother had been ran over in New York City by a car, and little Peanut was a little bruised up and banged up himself. He was missing part of his tail, and he just crawled up onto Mark Longo's leg, and the two became little buddies. He took him in since he was injured. He couldn't, be released back into the wild to be a wild animal, so he was domesticated and became a beloved pet. And there are videos all over Instagram and all over social media now being posted of Peanut, who just looks like the most adorable little furry companion that you could possibly ask for. And he also had a friend who was also another rescue animal named Fred the raccoon. And together they lived on this farm with Mark and horses, and they rescued animals and were having wonderful little happy animal lives. They were presences on social media, the stars of video, and then some stick in the mud, some Karen, some jackass decided to rain on the parade and report Mr. Mark Longo for the illegal and unlawful possession of wild animal life. After 7 years of harming nobody with these animals, after they had long since been domesticated and, become family pets, in comes the, New York Department of Wildlife and the DEC, the Department of Environmental Conservation, came into the house, executed a warrant, and seized Peanut and Fred from the home. And before Mark could do anything, before he could, he was already in the process of attempting to get a license for these animals as educational and exhibition animals, since they were used in conjunction with his charitable venture. And then the state killed them. The state killed Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon for no damn reason, euthanized both of them. Now, allegedly, Peanut was a champ. Peanut went fighting because one of these bastards bit him in the hand while he was getting confiscated from the house, and that was the basis, allegedly, for the euthanasia, because, well, now we got to test for rabies. Yes. Yeah. Ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Checking a squirrel for rabies. No, these are murderous statists, and they stole a beloved family pet and they euthanized him. Now, think about this, Producer Jack. Think about all the problems, not only across the nation, but specifically in New York. Okay, you've got the migrant crisis, the flood of illegal aliens pushing the budget skyrocketing into the billions, the thefts, the thieves, the shoplifting, the prostitution, the rape, the murder that is going on, the danger to civilians. The subways were so dangerous in New York City that they had to deploy the National Guard, Producer Jack. And on the top of these jackasses' list is to go murder a squirrel. It took them 2 days. They haven't charged anybody on the Epstein client list. It took them forever to go after Epstein, forever to convict Maxwell. And again, still nobody from the client list, even though they have the information. That's not on the priority. But murdering a squirrel and killing a raccoon, that's top of the status list. I'm pissed.
Do we know the Karen?
I don't think we do. Mark Longo, of course, rebuked them on social media and said that there's a special place in hell for people like that to report the beloved animals, and so petty. There is no law too trivial for the statists to come in and ruin your life over. Absolutely ridiculous.
Sounded like a wholesome story, but then they get taken away from him.
Yes, and Trump tweeted in a statement, and I'm glad he did, because this could easily sway the election in his favor. He's had a couple of breaks in that regard. Of course, Kamala Harris claimed to be the work at McDonald's once upon a time, and that was disproven. He showed up and made a campaign stop of it at the McDonald's. That moved the needle in his favor. The president called Trump supporters garbage. He did a campaign stop in the back of a garbage truck. That was successful, and now he is commenting on the enormous injustice of the murder of Peanut the squirrel. Trump releasing this statement on Truth Social. There has been horrible reports out of New York, my former home state, where state environmental agents raided the home of Mark Longo and his wife. Mark was taken into custody for hours while officials searched his home and eventually took 2 of their pets, Fred the raccoon and Peanut the squirrel. These animals were later executed by the state of New York. New York authorities, under their terrible governor, put more effort in finding and eliminating a squirrel who was innocent by all accounts than they do to control the unchecked illegal immigrants who have flooded into the state. If Peanut could have told them he was from Mexico, they would... If Peanut could have told them he was from Mexico, they would have sent him on his way and given him a hotel room and a $500 gift card to Buddy Squirrel. Instead, he was taken from his family. Very sad and a complete waste of resources. When we win, we will get our priorities in order under MAGA. Totally agree. And I did not expect to be radicalized by the death of a squirrel, but here we are in 2024. Screw the status. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on the Circle. Justice for Peanut. Stay tuned for the final segment coming up next.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Lynn just hates painting in the fall, so she called Rhino Shield.
It is a single-wide manufactured home. We moved from our home, which we had the Rhino Shield on. Rhino Shield was what we were going to do. That was no question. We knew we were going to do it.
Rhino Shield's a ceramic coating. It's not paint, it's better.
The Rhino Shield representative came, and we discussed what we wanted done. And this time, we had the roof done as well.
Formulated for our specific climate here in Indy and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty.
We truly believe in this product.
Now get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price. Plus, there's more great news. Rhino Shield is partnered with Green Sky Financing to offer no payments until 2026 for qualified buyers. Here's Rhino Shield Shane Smith.
Call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint. Go Rhino.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey, diamond lovers. Shane Company knows fine jewelry. That means a lot when you're looking for a dream engagement ring, a beautiful keepsake, or the perfect gift. When it's this important, you want someone who knows exactly how to work with your budget. Not against it. Someone who knows you deserve a piece more beautiful than you've ever imagined. Through 4 generations as a family business, we've always sourced our diamonds and gemstones directly, cut out the middleman, and passed the savings on to you. Come see us in store and compare our wide selection of diamonds, rubies, and a rainbow of sapphires in different shapes and sizes. So many in stock and ready to take home today. Create your dream engagement ring in 3 easy steps. Or pick a perfectly preset ring that's created by our in-house design team. Browse our selection of fine jewelry gifts for everyone in your life, from diamond and gemstone studs to must-have tennis bracelets and beautiful birthstone necklaces. With our everyday competitive prices and unmatched free lifetime warranty, Shane Company is your go-to destination for fine jewelry. Visit shaneco.com and come in to see for yourself. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Children are placed in foster care through no fault of their own. Because of abuse or neglect, it's heartbreaking.
We were just left in a hotel.
Tay and his brothers were adopted with help from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. But more than 100,000 children in the U.S. are still waiting for a family.
Now that I'm adopted, I can focus on being a kid.
Learn how you can help at davethomasfoundation.org.
Addiction. It's hard on those who struggle with it, but those who love the addict need support too. Matt Baer and Ryan Hedrick provide help and hope with Supporting Sobriety. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on WIBC.com.
Oh, it's such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you.
This is Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
You just keep me hanging on. You just keep me hanging on.
Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on the Circle. Find my podcasts on WIBC and Saturday Night on the Circle.fireside.fm. I'm your host, Ethan Hatcher, and producer Jack, beep, 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 pushing the buttons and doing the things to make the show function. Wrapping up for a final segment. And producer Jack, I feel cheated. I feel fundamentally cheated because I arrived here like a half hour too early because I left with plenty of time under the expectation that traffic would be slammed wall to wall due to the Swifties. And I had no problem getting in here at all. What was the experience for you? Were you beset by Swiftie overload?
Well, I left my house like not thinking of the Swifties at all. But yeah, no, it took me forever to take a couple left turns like into the parking garage area.
Well, maybe I just lucked out going straight up into down Washington Street, arriving here. But yeah, Indianapolis, it is officially night 2 of the Taylor Swift extravaganza, and Indianapolis is definitely feeling Swifty.
Oh, yeah. You gotta get Swifty. You gotta get Swifty in here. It's time to get Swifty. Uh-oh. You gotta get Swifty. Oh, yeah.
Now, are you a big Taylor Swift fan there, producer Jack? You're the right age, but maybe they're not the right demographic.
Yeah, not really, but it's not my cup of tea.
No, I mean, if anything, look, I'm not a top 40 artist. I'm not, tuning into the latest and the greatest, but it's been years since I've heard anything that Taylor Swift has made that really resonated with me. I mean, what was that one? The one about potatoes that she made a long time. Tater's gonna tate. Bake it off. It's about potatoes, right?
No, it's about haters.
Oh, crap, I got that wrong. Okay, never mind. But you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you know that it wasn't about potatoes, but you know the one.
Yes.
Okay. Not obviously not a Swiftie over here.
Yeah.
But we're happy that they're here. They're bringing millions of dollars doubtlessly to the local economy. I mean, I've seen the average is about $50 a parking space, but the Red Garter I saw posted on social media, I think we're demanding $125 a spot just for a parking space. Hotel rooms going for thousands of dollars. And some people have arrived and shortchanged themselves. I saw a report from the Indianapolis Star where apparently one of these Swifties from Mexico came all the way to Indianapolis and didn't have a ticket. Did not have a ticket to the event, just brought cash on hand with the expectation that they would be able to scalp one in front of Lucas Oil Stadium. That is very optimistic. I would not... I saw another, at least a Hoosier came from Fort Wayne, and she was offering $700 to scalp a ticket in front of Lucas Oil Stadium. But again, I think you're shooting a little low. $700. How? I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of these Taylor Swift tickets. They're going for thousands of dollars. Even the nosebleed seats.
Yeah, no, I feel like hardcore fans wouldn't give up their tickets, and plus you're kind of opening the possibility of getting scammed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what if you give that $700 and then it's a fake and you can't even get in?
Yeah,
that would be devastating. But fortunately, these are not problems that we have to deal with since we are not fans of Taylor Swift.
True.
Looking forward to Election Day, producer Jack. Like I said, I am showing up the morning of election. Of course, I plan to vote for Trump, plan to vote for Donald Rainwater, and go down the ticket from there. Probably not going to be retaining too many judges. Have you voted yet?
I haven't.
Haven't voted? You going out on Election Day?
Yeah, I'll get up in the morning, and I still need to do some research before I go vote.
Oh, no, you're one of these independents. You still haven't made up your mind?
I still haven't made up my mind.
Well, let's hope you come down on the decision of Trump, because certainly we need some relief from the nonsense across the fruited plains here in the United States. Thanks for listening to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to share the airwaves with you every Saturday night. I'll be back next week, and in the meantime, I leave you with my parting words of wisdom. Wherever you are, whoever you're with, and whatever you're doing, remember that life is a state of mind. Enjoy yourselves, and have a great night.